Hello everyone, this is Mukundan Ragavan, and this video we will try to understand and discuss about how central tendency works and how to understand the central tendency in intuitive way. Yes, we do have the different formulas and different measures and metrics to measure the central tendency. But this video starting with how to understand the central tendency in intuitive way. If you put it very simple way, central tendency will help us to summarize the data because as you know, descriptive statistics says you can describe your data in single value. If you have many number of data, you need to summarize into single value. So that's the reason in order to bring a single value to summarize our data, we need to go for central tendency. In other words, we are going to find the balancing point about all the data points. We will try to see a different analogy in coming slides. However, the first main point is we need to summarize, we need to describe our data in single value. Second one, to compare our data with other data sets. If you have the single value which describes your current data set, it is also possible that another data set also can be having the single value which will explain that data set. Since you have both single values of the different data set, now you can compare both data set with these two values only, rather comparing every values from both the data set. And third point, when you have the central tendency, you will try to see the patterns, how it is spreading, how it is clustering towards the central point. Now, you might wonder when you have multiple data points, how do you see the central point? For this, we need to see some analogy to understand the central tendency in more better way. Let's jump back something outside the mathematics, outside the statistics. If you are from the physics background, you might be knowing about the center of gravity. For regular shapes, maybe you can easily find the center of gravity, and if you put the single point to balance there, then it will be easily balanced. But what about irregular shapes? There is a different way that you will be having to find the central point or center of gravity. If you keep the finger there or if you keep any balancing point there, it will be totally standing stable. If you put anywhere apart from the center of gravity, it will not balance by itself. Even in college days, you might have seen some students might be spinning the notebook with their single finger, as you see in the screen. But knowingly or unknowingly, they will be exactly finding the center of gravity of the book so that the weight will be distributed across all the points from that center of gravity. Now you might be knowing how the center of gravity works. Instead of center of gravity, if I give you more data points and you will find something a center point where all the other data points are very closer to that, not having so much of distance from that. Even at this point of time, you might get some point, but let's go into another very good example to understand this analogy even further. Now, even we will go to the story to understand this central tendency. Let's say you are going to the new city and you have so many places to be visited. For example, museum, park, shopping mall, local market, historic landmark. There are so many places. Now you don't want to make unnecessary travel time. And this is very simple example that everybody might have faced in their life. Now how the central tendency helps. Basically, you will calculate the mean travel time. Already we have start entering into the terminology called mean travel time, but let's again try to find the balance point. Keep it very simple. Let's find the balance point for your travel. As you know already, you know all the places that you need to visit, maybe in the different directions. Museum on the north side, park is on the west, shopping mall in the east, local market and historical mark maybe on the south side. Now you will try to understand some middle point, right? So you will not stay exactly near to the museum because if you stay there, it is only good for the museum visiting time. But apart from that, it will be very far to visit the park or to market or to the mall. It same goes with other location as well. You cannot stay near to the same location. So somewhat you need to find the balancing point where you are staying in middle and the distance to travel in all the four places that you want to visit will be near to that. So this is a very simple central point, right? So this is where you will book your room or restaurant so that you will be acting like a central hub to save your time and energy during your entire trip. Now, this is a simple example or analogy to understand the central point. The same thing we are trying to do with the central tendency. We have a lot of data, but we will try to point out single balancing point to balance our entire data. Once you find that single point, this will be used for many things. As we discussed earlier, it will be representing or summarizing your entire data set. You are saying, if you are telling some point, let's say mean or median or mode of the data set, that means that is the central point. All your data points are around that. Since you have the single data point about your entire data set, you can compare with other things. And since you have the single data point, so that you will come to know how many data points are very closer or little closer to your central point. So let's see further example how this measure will be calculated. Now we have a rough idea, or let's say intuitive idea about the central point, which is central tendency of the data set. As we all see in all the courses, we will see mean, median, mode. Let's take a different use cases where mean can be used, or median, or mode. All three are measuring the central tendency based on the different context. Let's say you want to find the average salary. Then average salary, yes, we know all the formulas. Maybe you will sum up all the employees' salary and you will divide by the number of employees in them. But why it is working so far? First of all, why it is so appropriate to find the mean rather than median and mode? Because it is representing the single data value about your entire employee salaries. And coming to median, since we have the mean, what is the purpose of going to median? Median also gives a central tendency. However, it is very less reactive to the outliers. Now you might wonder what is outlier? Outlier is something like totally foreign to the current data set, or let's say it is totally away from the data points that we have. Imagine you have some kind of data points, let's say 1 to 100. Maximum, most of the time you will see the data points between 1 to 100. But there are some scenarios, very rare point, it comes 200 or 300. In that case, if you just visualize the entire data points, maybe the middle is 40 or 30, around the 30, all the data points will be there. Either it can be 10, 40, 50, 100, all will be looking like a small circle. Whereas if you have one outlier 200, it will totally out of that circle, which makes your boundaries even more to expand. Just for one outlier, you want to expand your entire boundary? No. So that is the same thing about the median. Median is less influenced by the outliers. How it actually works? Very big, simple. It is just finding the middle value rather than summing up everything and dividing by the number of records that you have. But think about the scenario. You want to buy the house. Now, you want to know what is the minimum amount that you should have. As the name suggests, median will get the middle value. That means that if your median value of all the house prices near to your neighborhood, let's consider 2 lakhs. Maybe you can put it dollar euros, but 2 lakhs. That means if your median value is 2 lakhs, it's very simple understanding that 50% of the data will be less than 2 lakhs. 50% of the data is more than 2 lakhs. So either some amount, if you make near to 2 lakhs, you can cover almost 50% already, and you can try to cover some more things in the second half. Even though you bring the new house, which is 15 lakhs, still the middle value will be 2 lakhs because it is going in the middle value, not summing up everything and dividing with the same number of records that you have. So that's the reason median is so much required when you have the outliers or when you expect the outliers. Then what is mode? Sometimes the number actually will not act like a number. For example, if you consider about the shoe sizes 7, 8, 10, 11, 12, you will not get a meaningful result when you sum up everything and divide by the number of shoes because it is not actually acting like a number. It is the size of the shoe. So in that case, you want to find the mode to identify most frequently occurring value in the data set. So that's the reason if you find that if shoe size is 8 is appearing so many times, then 8 is a central tendency because most of the people are buying the shoe size with 8. So it depends on the situation and context, you will choose any one of the measure. But at the end of the day, you will finding the central balancing point where this point will be attractive point towards all the data points in the same data set. It is also possible that this central point, either it could be mean or median or mode, may not be the actual value in the data set itself. For example, the mean value of the given average salary might be $6,000, but even the $6,000 itself may not be the value in the data set. It is a central balancing point. All the salaries are surrounding that. Now, with this knowledge, let's try to see the same use cases in Excel, how to get the mean, median, and mode. Let's go to the mean. Consider here you have 5 data points or 5 salaries and you want to find the average. Easily you can find the average by using the built-in method called average, or you can use the same value that like sum of all the values and count of the records, right? So if you want to see the method that has been used, control and tick symbol just before the function key 1 or the value 1, the special key exclamation. So here you can find the method average, or you can go very step-by-step procedure, sum of all the numbers from A to A6 and the count of values from A to A6. Both gives the same result because it is the mean value. Even you can interpret this mean value as a different way. The average or mean value is the value that can replace every existing item and have the same result. Imagine I found the mean value for these 5 results. Instead of having the different values, if I keep the same value under all the 5 employees, still the sum will be same. Yes, obviously that's what the average means. So basically what I'm trying to say here is, if we have the, let's say the different salaries like a stacks as you see in the diagram, if I want to balance this stack to have the same height, that could be the average or mean. So that everything is similar or same, I could say, and it has the same height. So with a small number of data, it is possible, or you can just visualize or imagine it, like you can move the stacks from one to another to make the same height. But in case of large data sets, we need to use the average. Let's go to the median. As we discussed, median, the first condition is number in the middle of a sorted list. Sorting is the main point. Once you have the sorted list, for example, you have the sorted list. Here you can see when you sort it, the middle value is 12. The median is 12. Again, you can use the same method, median, or you can use the average also. But since the outlier is 100, you can see all the data points are less than 20, but one outlier which is 100. If you use the average, which is very far, average is saying 21. All the data points are not revolving around 21. Actually, it is a 12. And you can see this is the outlier. Maybe with a small data set, you can point out easily the outliers. But in case of large data set, you will come to know only if you visualize with the bell curve. So you can visualize only through the bell curve. So what is bell curve, that we will see in the coming sessions. But as of now, you can see if you have the outliers, median is the best way. Because when you change anything, for example, if I change 3 also, or let's say I put it as a 21, the average changes, but median does not change. So that is the main point about the median. It handles the outlier very well. Now coming to the mode. So we have the different shoe sizes as we discussed. We can use the same method called mode, control and tick. You can see the mode method or mode function. And this is very simple, most often appearing value. Now you might wonder where to use what. It's very simple. Mean is very good to find the middle value or balancing point where you don't much expect the outliers. Median is again a central point, but it could be handling the outliers very well. And mode is the most often appearing value. It is something like you are taking the vote from the different people. So just summarize everything what we have seen. We have seen why central tendency is needed. We have seen this can help us to summarize the entire data set as a single value because we are having the descriptive statistics. Since we have the single value, it can be easy to compare one data set with another data set with one value to another value. And also we can identify the patterns. For example, mode. By this time you might be knowing. By seeing the mode value, you will come to know what is the most frequently appearing value. And we have seen some analogy like a center of gravity with irregular shape, regular shape, and even a simple example like rotating notebook with your finger. Or even we have seen the simple story where you will go for a new city to explore and you will take the room in between all the visiting places, a central point. And we have seen a simple measures to measure the central tendency, mean, median, mode. And we have seen the appropriate scenarios for each individual item, mean, median, mode. And even we have seen the three different formulas, mean, median, mode, and we have seen the graph also in some intuitive way. And this is all about this video, and always be a rainbow in others' cloud.